Here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Yay. Good morning, Peter.
Morning, Bill. Good morning, everybody.
Here we go. Podcast episode number 423. 423.
Wow.
Here is the title of today's podcast. For any rookie not doing creative real estate deals in today's economy. Here is the description. Are you tired of all study, no deals, and no profits? Are you ready to transform your real estate game and seize opportunities others are blind to? In today's economy, the biggest hurdle isn't finding buyers. It is having the right inventory. In this episode, we are going to flip your thinking so you have a brand new strategy that anyone can actually dominate a market while using it. Imagine having a treasure trove of properties that you can do deals with and never need a dime up front, which means it will change your status from starving in real estate to thriving and setting yourself apart from any competition. So if you want a steady stream of deals at your fingertips while others are still searching, this is your episode. But here is the kicker. This method is so effective, so revolutionary, that the big players don't want you to know about it. It leaves the playing field. I'll give that to you again. It levels the playing field in a way that threatens status quo. The clock is ticking. While you are listening to this, savvy investors are already putting these secrets to work. Don't let another day go by with you feeling stuck. Your empire awaits. Are you ready to claim it? Ta-da.
Sounds good. You know what part I liked?
Tell
You
me.
said status quo.
Yeah.
I don't like the status quo. I like that part. Beat the status quo.
There you go. All right, let's do some of our housekeeping type activities. So this podcast is made only to alter your thinking about real estate. That's why there's so many of them. It's a thinkingness. If it used to be in the beginning, we would change your doingness. We would try to get you to change your do things. So I am working on a private podcast channel that is not broadcasted everywhere. It's a private channel that you'll need to sign into or log into once and download an app because it's our own app or an app that we use that we pay for. And they're going to be private episodes. So soon everything will be pushed over to there. Okay. You'll find that link in episode 422. That link in the description of 422 will get you logged in there. So if you want to go check that out. In the meantime, we're going to continue here for a little bit longer, some more episodes, and we'll give you plenty of warning when we stop recording here. Okay. As soon as we get that whole system up and running and working, then we are going to announce that we're going to stop doing these podcasts because 423 is a lot of podcasts, millions of downloads, right? So with that said, we record on a Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We live stream to Facebook, to LinkedIn, and 2 channels on YouTube. One is Flipping Houses for Rookies, and the other is Creative Real Estate REI. Creative Real Estate REI Replay. Okay? If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to join us during the podcast. in any one of those platforms. Wherever you can type something, you can ask a question. If you have a question that is not pertaining to the podcast, you need to go to flippinghousesforrookies.com or creativereply.com. Go to the support ticket, put a ticket in there, and I will gladly answer them. If you want to join our WhatsApp Messenger group, our little mastermind group with about 100 people in it, you go to WhatsApp Messenger and log into Let's Talk Real Estate. Okay? Don't forget to subscribe to us, and don't forget to like us, and don't forget to leave a comment. Whew, I always don't like that part of the podcast.
Well, we'll do something new when we have our private podcast.
Yeah, we won't need to be doing all that.
All right.
All right, Pete, today our rookies stand at a crossroads. Right? On one path lies a struggling, too many already know. Right? I said struggling, it's a struggle. On one path, one path lies a struggle too many already know and are familiar with. The endless search, the frustration, the feeling of always being one step behind and not making deals. And the struggle of someone coming out with a new strategy or a new idea that you need to go study and buy a course for and another book to read, or listening to podcasts like this for 400 and something episodes. It's a lot of work. On the other path is a world of abundance where deals come to you and creating a whole new level of problem. Where the biggest problem is deciding which opportunity to pursue next. This isn't about time and money any longer. I've removed that. But instead, a whole new way to think and act while around real estate sellers. What I'm about to encroach upon today and sneak in your mind with is something so crazy. I can't believe it's taken me 30 years to actually see it, feel it, and touch it. And it reduces everything that you ever thought about real estate down to what I'm going to teach you today. And point blank, this is probably, and I know I've said this in the past, but this could be probably one of the most impinging podcasts that you could listen to about real estate ever. And I'm going to back up my words today. I'm going to back up again. This isn't about time and money any longer. And today I'm going to reveal the number one hidden secret that real estate gurus don't want you to know. And it's right under your nose. And if you know these hidden secrets I'm going to tell you about today, these gurus can't charge you big bucks and keep them hidden from you any longer. Here's the first thing I need to expose. So before I get started, any questions, anything? I'm good?
No, you're good.
I'm all right?
I know where you're headed, of course, as we talk. Yeah. But nothing's confusing so far. We're just wondering what's going to come out of your mouth next.
There you go. Here's the first thing I need to expose. And the word expose is intentionally used there. What does that mean, Peter? Expose.
Well, it implies that something's being hidden if you have to expose it. It actually means put out. X means out. Pose means to put. You're pulling it out like it's been covered up, secret, held on to.
Great job. Here we go. Buyers pay you and make you rich, not the sellers. Truth is, The reason 99% of all real estate people fail is they have no inventory to show buyers.
Mm.
Right?
Jeez. I'm sorry. That's just funny, really.
Okay.
But it's true. If you want to sell something, you either have a service that you can deliver, you either make a product, like you just go cut down trees and sell the wood, or you buy a product to resell the product. I don't know what else there is.
That's right. And even
So,
your service is inventory because it's your labor.
yeah,
Like so you have a plumber,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
He works all by himself. How many hours a week what is his inventory? 40 hours a week?
yeah.
If
40,
he
50.
bills by the hour, we'll say $100 an hour. He bills by the hour. Yeah, maybe he's a maniac and he works 70 hours a week. So the most he could make is 70 times $100.
Mm-hmm.
That's his inventory.
Yep.
Like you do music lessons. Your inventory is 30 minutes a day in your intellectual property, which is your knowledge on how to do that.
Yep.
That's your inventory.
Yep.
Right?
But when we're talking about products like an object, you have to build something, buy wood and build something and sell it or whatever you do, or you have to buy something already. So we have to go buy the house to then sell it. We make the money when we sell it, but we have to get a hold of one.
Until today. That's not true what you just said.
Oh, good. See,
I'm going to disabuse because I've said that for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
But think about this.
Mm-hmm.
If you logged into or onto Amazon and there was nothing there for you but a blank screen after you got the search back, would you crack open your wallet and pay Amazon?
Oh, man, I have to hop in my car and drive to a store again. Ugh.
Okay, so let's say you did that. Let's say you hopped in your car and went to the store and you went to Walmart.
Get to the store, the shelves are empty.
And the shelves are bare.
I see where you're going with this.
Right? Now, proof of this is, remember COVID?
Yeah. Yeah, when I had to find an outlet supplier for buildings to find toilet paper and some random supplier, right. I found toilet paper. And you don't want to tell anybody because you want to hoard it. Oh,
and you cracked open your wallet and paid $85 for a roll of toilet paper, remember?
Well, I got a whole pack, but it was still $80. No, yeah, it was more expensive.
It's a lot of money, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. But what are you going to do?
Right. Exactly. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Right. Without inventory, you have no business. You have no real estate business without inventory. You actually have a hobby.
Yeah.
It's actually a hobby. And by inventory, I mean a quantity of goods or products that are ready to sell. Yep. In our case, it's real estate. It's a property. It's a house.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, there are other real estates too. I mean, there's multifamily houses, commercials, and all that, but we do residential houses, right?
Condos. For us, condos would be okay.
So wait a minute. I want to make sure this is clear.
Yes.
Where does all the money from the deal come from?
Well, you say it's the buyer. Somebody's going to show up and say, "I want it."
Don't say I said. I'm asking you with your own experience to tell me.
Yeah.
Don't go by what I'm telling you. Don't listen to me right now. Don't let me influence you.
All right, buddy. Ignore Bill. Ignore Bill. If anybody's ever made money in real estate, where has a check come from? Huh?
Right. So no, where does the money for the deal come from?
Yeah. Well, it has to be the buyer.
Right?
Yeah.
So once the buyer supplies the money, then who gets paid? Everyone.
Yeah.
Right. The idea is that you collect more than what you owe and have a profit.
Yep.
So we've been dancing around this now for some time because I keep telling you, and we've done a few podcasts on it, like you need to study your buyer, not your seller. And if you want to make a deal, how long ago was this, Peter? I mean, you tell me because I don't remember. How long ago did I tell you to make creative real estate offers? The best thing in the world is to go talk to your buyer, see what they're willing to pay, what they're willing to do, and then go back and tell your seller that with a difference between it. Like, so buyer says I'll pay 200, you go back to your buyer and say, I can only pay 180. You don't need you don't need to study creative real estate anymore.
Yeah. And when you say 180, it's not because you're just, looking at a pencil and paper and just coming up with it. It's because that's what the market said. What are you going to sell for more than people are going to give you? They're not going to give it to you. They're not going to give it. They're not going to give it.
My point is that the seller said they're willing to pay 200.
The buyer.
The buyer's willing to pay 200.
Yeah.
So you go back to the seller and it's anything less than that, 195, 190, 185, 180, something like that. Anything less is how you make your money.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we worry about getting stuck with real estate?
I think it's because when we talk to the seller, we look at the deal, and I'm speaking for me now. You look like, well, will this work? I think he wants too much. I'm not sure if it'll work. I start thinking a little bit like, can I do it or not? And you just made the point a few weeks ago that just put that out of my head. Keep reminding me, because I'm so used to thinking like that. Keep reminding me. But like, whatever the guy says, go, okay, I'll give it a shot. Put it on the market. What do you got to lose? Because we're not paying him that. We're just signing the paper to go do the deal and see. Right?
I'm going to go over that. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I blew it.
No, you didn't blow anything. It's 100%. I want you to think like this.
Yeah.
Because it's thinking backwards, because we spend so much time trying to get the deal.
Yeah.
That we're not looking at a rate of return for our time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you a clue. I'm completely off script right now. I'll give you a clue. Honest to God, I could talk about the rest of this podcast about this thinking process. I've been stuck in it now for maybe a month. It's been weeks, and I just can't get it out of my head. I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you, Peter, where you see something and it just changes your life. You learn a datum and it just changes your life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You learn something that just is so truth. The truth is so strong that it just takes you over. It takes over your thinking. It takes over all of it.
Yeah, that happens every time I talk to my wife, Bill. Not no. No.
Your sarcasm is not well right now.
That's all I got.
So here's what started all this.
Yeah.
The word is transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like revamping, or have decided I want to revamp my coaching group, which means I'm going to be charging more money, not because it makes me more money, because I want to include everything under the sun in it. Like my whole CRM, giving you leads every day, funding, all kinds of things. I want to include everything. So there is absolutely no barrier to doing a deal.
Yeah.
Other than you just don't go to work. And I'm trying to revamp it so that the transformation, which now when you start with coaching could be this month, or it could be 10 months from now. It's unpredictable based on some variables. Mm-hmm. So what I'm looking at is, okay, so if I charge you all this money, which is a lot, how long before you feel like you got your money's worth? When does a transformation happen? Right? Now think about it. Our entire lives are about transformation. You're here and want to be there. There's a transformation. Mm-hmm. You're young and you want to be old, or you're old and want to be young. However you want to do it, there's a transformation. Right? You're looking to change something of an outcome. So that's how all this started.
Yeah,
was me thinking about transformations and how do I get rookies to literally, because I want to do a challenge. Literally within 30 days, do a deal and get a check for $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 or more. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How do I do that? Mm. Right? What was his name? Oh my goodness, I just went blank. Oh my
Which
goodness.
guy?
The guy that was the first no money guy down.
Robert Allen.
Oh, Robert Allen. Thank you. Thank you.
That's because I got the book over there in the bookcase still.
Yeah, there you go. Robert Allen would fly to a city, find a bum on the street, and within a certain amount of time, have him buy a property.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been kind of thinking, how can I do that?
Yeah.
Right. And that's not as easy as you would think. But this transformation is where this all came from. Anyways, that's the background.
Yeah.
All right. If you don't have a house, back to the podcast, if you do not have a house or houses to show the person that's going to pay you, here's what's going to happen. If you don't have a house, if you don't have inventory, you ready?
Sure.
Well, first of all, you won't be contacted and asked how much to be paid. People won't call you up and say, well, I'll pay you this much instead of that much.
Yeah.
There is no negotiation on how much money you're going to make. There's just no communication at all because you have no inventory.
Hey, you know what's funny? Huh. How long have you talked about making offers to sellers to keep the debt away?
Yeah.
But what you're talking about now is getting offers given to us from the buyers as the real target is getting offers.
An offer a day keeps the debt away. So now what you're saying is instead of giving the offer, we're getting it.
Getting offers.
Yeah, that's good, Pete. So if you have no inventory, that's not going to happen. 2, no one, absolutely no one, or very few, like the people in your family that listen to you talk about it all the time, or your friends, will know that you are even in business. They won't be able to tell their family and friends so you can expand. You are invisible. And if you think I'm stringing through a bunch of crap to you right now, walk out your front door, take a left, take a right, and walk a block or two until you can find someone, a person. And then say to them, hey, is there someone around here that buys houses? Can you tell me someone that can give me an offer on my house? I need an offer this afternoon. Do you know someone I can call? And see how they respond. You are in non-existence. You do not exist if you don't have inventory. Number 3, there are absolutely, positively, definitely, for sure, no opportunities for you to collect a chunk of dough this week, this month, this year, if you have no inventory. How are you going to collect dough if you don't have inventory? If you're not showing houses to buyers, the ones that are going to pay you, how are you going to get money? Number 4, you will never build a buyer's list. Never build a buyer's list. And have the ability to tell your seller the amount of potential buyers you have waiting and how it would help that seller if they go with you on this deal. Right?
Sure. True.
Well, I could go on a rant right now, but I'm not going to. The craziest thing in the world to me, it is like so befuddling to me that I think the only way I could figure it out is to ingest a serious amount of drugs and hallucinate.
Yeah, but you don't do that.
I don't even drink. I get that. Yeah. But this is what I'm telling you. This is why it's so crazy to me. Wow. The realtor system is 75 years old. Licensed. It's more older than that, but it's been a national, what is it, NAR, National Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
They went online in 1993 or 94 with their MLS system.
Yeah.
Never once have I met a realtor that actually saves the contact information for their potential buyers. They do not save or do not gather a buyer's list. I mean, if I was a realtor, I would crush it just with that alone, because at the end of 6 months, I'd have hundreds of names of buyers. So when somebody listed with me, I just would blast my email list or my SMS, my texting, and say, "Hey, I got a new house. Come check it out."
That's the lifeblood of most businesses. With my little business, my side hustle, I have like boxes of my old customers. I keep all that. Who wouldn't keep that? You can't go anywhere nowadays with somebody saying, "Oh, subscribe to my email if you want to get the blah, blah." So they have your information. And they have people throwing their names at them every day, and they don't keep them?
Right.
Yipes.
So the best thing in the world to tell a seller is, "I just sold a house and I have leftover buyers." If you have no inventory, you can't do that.
Yeah.
5, and this is like, listen to this one.
Mm-hmm.
You will absolutely, totally have to have some sort of other income to support your real estate career or hobby, because you have no money without inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have another source of income, another source of making money, so you could feed this life-sucking, energy-sucking, money-sucking business. And you wonder why the people around you are laughing at you, and your spouses or other halves or significant other halves are complaining about the money you spend and the amount of time you study it, because you're studying the wrong end. You have no inventory. Number 6, and most importantly, the last one, my last argument about this, not having inventory today.
Mm-hmm.
You will spend endless amounts of time studying real estate. And according to surveys, it's often decades without ever getting paid or truly get the experience you need to master this craft of finding real estate documents that you could flip, like we do in Creative Real Estate.
Yep.
Remember, I named this a couple podcasts ago. There's FREP, FREP, and FRED, FRED.
Mm-hmm.
Most realtors and most people in the world flip real estate property.
Mm.
Creative Real Estate, we flip real estate documents. Flip means buy and sell quickly
Mm-hmm.
for a profit.
Yeah, it doesn't mean renovate. People think flipping is renovating. It's not. Could be, but it's not the only.
Okay, this brings me to my main point and most valuable point for today. This is the transformation. So we recognize everything, which is really cool. I think that's what I just said to you is a great observation on my part. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just saying, if you just look at it, it's just truth.
Sure. Can't argue the point.
Exactly.
Can't argue that.
The absolute amazing insider secret I promised you today is, in this episode, you need to get the seller to give you property to present to your buyers on consignment. So you not only have inventory, but free inventory to show off to buyers for high-end profits. And by consignment, we mean an arrangement in which goods are left with a third party to sell. And in our case, the goods are a house or a piece of property, which is sort of a lie because it's not absolutely true. And I'm going to teach that to you in a minute, because we actually have two types of goods. One is we sell the property, the other we sell the financing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Depending on how we sell it. So we need to find sellers that are willing to let us use their house on a consignment transaction. In other words, I'm going to open something on my screen here. So consignment refers to a trade agreement where a third party or consignee sells goods or products on behalf of another business or individual, also known as a consignor. In this arrangement, the consignor does require immediate payment from the consignee, right? So we are going to, well, let me ask you this. How does the realtor do it?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the funny thing when we think of, anytime you're in a business, you're supposed to look at what everybody else is doing, just so you know what they're doing, so you can do something better, not worse, take advantage of some way. But the realtor just does exactly the same thing. They don't pay the seller to sell the house. They sign paper. The buyer shows up. Everybody gets paid. He's a third party. We're a third party.
Right.
We have different documents.
Right. The difference is the realtor needs a license because they're not part owner of the property. So there's a bunch of legalese that says how they get paid and what the fees are and how to not be dishonest. When we use an option agreement, which is the right to buy but not the obligation to purchase, we are actually getting a small equity share in the property, which makes us part owner legally. And because we're part owner, we can sell the property without a license.
Yep.
Okay. How do we get these houses on consignment deals from sellers? So I strongly recommend you get paper and pencil. And I strongly recommend that you write this down, because I'm going to give you something that I'm not going to write up for you. I'm not going to put it in a document and give it to you for free. You need to work for this. But it's easy enough that you could write it down. I think it's 4 or 5 steps. It's four steps. You should write it down. So here you go. You start with number 1. Ask the seller, is it more important to you to get your price or make more profit? Peter's saying. So number 1, obviously you need to ask it, when you talk to somebody about a house, is the house still for sale? Whose name is on the deed? What is the price that you're asking? And then the next question is, it could be this simple. There's more to this if you want, but it could be this simple. The next question is it more important to you to get your price or make more profit? So number 2, their answer or their response is key. It is a major point in this conversation. If they say price, if their response is price, so the question, remember the question is, ask the seller, is it more important to get your price or make more profit? And their answer is price. It tells you the seller's core and hidden intention is greed. They want the cash from the property and they don't want to wait for it. They have some idea or some plan or some pressure on them that's usually outside of the house transaction, that they need money, and they're going back to their savings account known as the equity. Now, the foolish thing used to be, which it is no longer, it's changed in today's economy, is these folks could refinance and get the money out and then keep the house and have both things. Like they could have the asset of the house, which
Mhm.
has tremendous tax benefits and income potential, and get the cash out. So we used to suggest that to people that have a lot of equity. We'll go get a home equity loan, a line of credit, a HELOC, or go refinance, and we'll take the property over. We'll take the property over subject to your existing payments, and you don't have to pay for it. You get the cash. Unfortunately, in today's economy, that has changed because we went from having 3 and 4% interest rates to 6, 7, and 8% interest rates, and it it actually affects the cash flow on the deals significantly.
Yeah, my HELOC loan went from 4 to 8%.
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yep. Okay. I actually have a subject to deal that I'm working on right now, and it's a $230,000 house that was purchased like 6 months ago, and his payment is $2,385, and I'm having trouble. I'm like, I don't know whether I don't know what to do with it. So we found an FHA mortgage that's willing to reduce his interest, and it's going to change the payment by $400 or $500 by like 2 or 3%, 2% or something like that.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Which is now more plausible for me to sell this house.
Yep.
All right. So if we ask the question, is it more important to you to get your price or make more profit? We just talked about if they said price.
Yeah.
If they say profit, more money tells us that he wants to make more profit, right?
Yep.
So when he says, I want to make more profit, obviously that's what he means. And we'll wait to do that. And in that particular case, we're going to give him an offer that he can make up to 70% over market value. And I'm going to go over that. Okay. Number 3 on the blueprint. Now that you know which it is, need or greed, because greed is they want all cash now. Need is they want profit, more profit now. Right? You can give an offer. Because now you know which one it is. It's simple. You don't need to think about all the creative real estate deals and loan to value ratio and all that stuff we've been teaching for a million years.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a greed deal where they just want all their money now, you're going to sign a 90-day option agreement with them with a 5% discount as a minimum. Because the realtor would charge them 5%, right?
Yep.
So what we're going to do is we're going to sign a 90-day option agreement with them. So if it's a $400,000 house, we're going to get a 5% discount, which means $20,000. Right? So we're going to sign an option agreement for $380,000. Like I said, this is very similar to what a realtor is going to do, because honestly, if a realtor sold it for $400,000, they're only going to net. Well, they're going to net a lot less, but at 5%, they're going to net $380,000. So you're giving them a full asking offer. You're not negotiating the price at all.
Well, that's actually more if you really did the closing cost thing, because even Zillow says 10, 11%. Right. So 5% is a better deal for them.
Right.
It really is.
Okay. So that's a greed offer. You're going to give them a greed offer, which is sign a 90-day option agreement, and we're going to go sell the house on an option. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. B is they say they want profit. So on a need deal, which is they want profit, they need profit, you're going to do a slot deal, which is a sandwich lease option transfer. Means we're going to get an option agreement from our seller, and we're going to transfer it to our buyer for a profit. So we're just flipping the paperwork.
Yeah.
Okay. Now here's the magic, and here's the billism on this. We use what we call my grand slam offer. script. And this explains how the seller, if they're willing to wait for 36 months or 3 years, can get up to 70% more than market value. And the way we do that is because we're going to show them how to get cash flow. We're going to show them how to get payment principal reduction. We're going to show them how to get depreciation and appreciation. And the script and the calculator does all of that for you. It's simple, Simon, once you have it all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Which, by the way, in the description today is a link on how you can get all that stuff. Okay? So, if the asking price of the house, right, is $300,000, you're going to show them how they can get $395,000 for this house by waiting 3 years. Right?
Yeah.
In today's economy, I've not seen, unless you're below $200,000 houses, and because I coach all the time, in today's economy, I have yet to see this Grand Slam offer now produce more than or upwards of $100,000 per property.
Yeah.
That gets people's attention. So now, if they tell you that they want to go off and they need a down payment, or they need, they need to buy another house and they need the money for another house, you're going to say, yeah, but I'm making you $120,000. Are you going to give up $120,000 to go get a $30,000 deposit? Isn't there another way that you can get that money? And 85 to 90% of the time they say, yeah, actually, I could get the money somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? Makes sense?
Oh, yeah. It's math.
Yeah. All right, number 4. Now you have 2 ways to get a house on consignment. You could either do it with an option or you could do it with a slot deal. Those are the 2 ways you're getting the house on consignment, because both ways you're getting an option. The first way, you're just getting an option to sell it. You don't need anything else. The second way, you're getting an option, and then you're going to attach a lease to it and allow them 3 years to get qualified for a mortgage.
Yep.
So you're just using a plain old option to sell, or terms with a lease for 36 months with an option to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Here's the trick. You sell it the way you got it under consignment. So you sell it the way you bought it, or the way you got the paperwork. So if you got an option agreement for 90 days for all cash, right? And the seller gave you a 5% discount, you sell it for all cash. So here's how you do that. Let's say we have a $400,000 house, like I spoke about before.
Mm-hmm.
And they give you a 5% discount. You're going to write an option agreement for $380,000.
Sure.
Agreed?
Sure.
Which, according to your point, which I agree with, is more money than they would get with a realtor. Because I'm going to cover this at the end, but people ask me all the time, what's the difference between us and a realtor?
Exactly.
And I'm going to explain that before we hang up today. So you got this house under option for $380,000, right? And you decide that you're going to want to make $5,000, which the first couple deals you should not be greedy and try to make all the money. And I'm going to tell you the reason why here in a minute. You decide you want to make $5,000. So you're going to list this property on places like Zillow and Facebook and Avail.co. And you're going to start getting people interested in this property because you're going to list this property for $385,000, where all the other properties in the neighborhood are being sold for $400,000. So you're $15,000 lighter than everyone else. So we'll create a frenzy because you're the cheapest property on the market in the neighborhood.
Yep.
And you're going to get people that are going to want this property because it's cheaper. The only difference is the way we're selling it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this question. Let's do some math. You do the math. I'll ask the questions.
Okay.
So if the realtor sells it for 5%, how much do they get for a commission?
20.
20,000. Okay. So let's say there's a co-broke deal, meaning that there's a buyer there's a realtor that signs a listing agreement with the seller. And then a different realtor finds the buyer. What do they do with the commission?
Well, that's a good question because things are shifting around right now.
Yes.
But it could be 2.5. It could be 5% paid by the seller, or 2.5 paid by the buyer, 2.5 paid by the seller. Isn't that what's happening lately?
But the point doesn't matter where the money's coming from. That's what's changed. Each realtor is getting 2.5%, whether it's paid by the seller or paid by the buyer.
Yeah, whoever.
Right? It doesn't matter. They're still getting 2.5%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2.5% on $20,000 is how much money? 10 grand.
Well, yeah, it's half of that.
Okay. So the realtor made $20,000. The seller realtor gets 10 grand. And then the buyer realtor gets 10 grand. Now, when I say realtor, what do I mean? I mean the agency that sold it, because what happens is in that realtor system, there's a broker and an agent. The broker holds the license, the agent does the work. So what do they do with that commission? They split it.
Yeah. Is it 50-50 or whatever?
I mean, there's all kinds of splits out there, but for a very long time it was 50-50. So that means the agent got 5,000 and the broker got 5,000.
Right.
So how is this any different than what they do? Because we're charging $5,000.
Well, one of the differences, somebody could come along and want it for $390 or $395. We would get to keep that too.
That's right. Yeah, you could have a bidding war. It could go up.
In today's market, that would happen, and it's still less than the 400,000 altogether, and we're not robbing the guy who's selling the house because he's still getting his 380. We just happen to keep a little bit more of it because we're probably doing more of the work. We're doing a little bit of everything, aren't we?
Right.
We're doing the whole work. We're doing the whole job to earn it.
So does that make sense? So if you're selling it as a cash deal, that's how you would do it, right? So here's the thing. This will get you attention. So you're not listing it as 400,000 like everybody else, and it just blends in with everybody else and nobody sees it. When you put it on the market for 385 and everyone else is selling for 400, this gets attention.
Yeah.
Now pay attention to this, because this is one of those jewels that I just spit out that kind of gets blended in with the whole podcast. It's worth writing down. How do you get attention? Attention. The way you get attention is to impinge or have an impact. So when you have an impact or you impinge, you get attention. Like copywriting, the headline impacts you. Like, what does that mean? So the only way you're going to get attention to sell a house for all cash is you need to have an impact, or you need to impinge, and kind of like somebody's walking down the street on Broadway in Manhattan, and they're just smoking a cigarette, talking to their friend, whatever, right? How does a storefront stop them in their tracks, get them to turn and look at their window and come into the store?
They got to have something special.
They have to have some sort of an impact, or they need to impinge on that person's conversation they're already having in their head. Right?
Yeah.
So if you have an impact or an effect on the property, because everyone else is trying to sell for $400,000, you'll get attention. Very important for option agreements and all cash.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you got a slot deal for a minimum of 36 months, in other words, you got an option that is good for 36 months because the seller wants to get paid off in 36 months, you're no longer selling the house. The impact or the effect or the impingement that you're going to create is because you've crossed over the threshold and are now selling the financing to the property. You're not selling the property anymore. See, the first one is flipping real estate property.
Yes.
Now we're going to flip real estate documents. So we're using both of them in our consignment deals.
So the way I look at it is when we're selling or flipping the property, the benefit is the discount on the property, which is good. Right. And the second one, the benefit is the opportunity to get the house once you can get your mortgage, but meanwhile have a place that's going to be yours that you can live in. You know, the lease with the option.
So to shorten it up. So the first opportunity is you're getting on an option deal, you're getting a discount.
Yep.
The second benefit is you're buying a house with no bank qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be able to live in it for 3 years to get qualified for bank qualifying.
Yep.
Right. And because of this, we give our seller a full asking price as long as it's, within market value. Obviously, you can't give them $350,000 or $380,000 for a $300,000 house. You could do that, which, by the way, you could do that. It just means you can't do it in 3 years. You got to do 10 or 15-year term, and then it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? See, when we sell on the slot deal, we don't need a discount. We actually add 5% on top of the full paid asking price for our profit. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you might think, why would a buyer want to do that? Well, if you were to buy my computer today for $1,000 in cash and paid me $1,000 in cash, you paid $1,000 for my computer. Common sense. That's logical.
Yeah.
But if you were to pay me $1,000 for my computer today and you put it on your credit card and paid for it over the next 3 years, there's going to be fees from that credit card, and you're going to pay more than $1,000 for the house. For the computer.
Mm-hmm.
A house is exactly the same way. I didn't make these laws. I didn't make this happen. This is not my think up. This is what America's like.
No, it's really natural to me. Like, wait a minute, you're going to make me wait 3 years to pay the house? Well, what are you going to give me to make me wait 3 years?
Right.
If you're going to, I'm waiting, give me something for waiting. So that's a little bit extra. And they're still better off because if they don't do that, they're renting and renting and renting and renting and never get the house. Look how much money they're spending now just renting the rest of their life because rents are going up. They're not going down.
You're talking about the buyers, yes.
Yeah, as far as the buyers. At least if you buy, you freeze the rate.
Right.
You freeze the rent to the amount you have to pay every month. It's not going to keep going up on you.
For at least 3 years, yeah. Well, it might increase, but not by as much as the inflation will.
Yeah, but once you're in, and that's it. Then 5 years. My kids have bought houses. The first year or 2 or 3, it's a little tight. Then they get little raises at work. They get another paycheck. They get a bonus. Next thing you know, they're ahead of the game.
Right.
The mortgage didn't go up. It starts looking. My mortgage used to be $240, $245 a month. Oh my God, that was a bunch of years ago.
Right.
Now it's gone, but that got easier every year. It got less and got smaller on us.
Yep.
It's a great benefit for a few bucks. It's a good benefit. You're not screwing anybody by doing that. That's the point.
Well, the interesting thing is if you do the math on a realtor deal and they go get a mortgage and you do a 30-year mortgage, you're paying 2.5 to 3 times the amount of the price anyway. So if you bought a house for $300,000 by the time you get done paying your payments with principal and interest, it's almost $900,000.
Yeah, you put that in a mortgage calculator at the bottom, it'll tell you. Altogether, you will be paying blah. It'll tell you.
All you got to do is take your principal and interest payment and multiply it by the amount of months that you have to pay for it. That's how much you're paying for the house.
Sure.
All right. So as you can see, done this way, we are mirroring everything they can get with a realtor plus more. For example, we only have a 90-day agreement that can be broken without any legal ramifications, like a realtor listing contract. Now, some of the listing contracts, and I will tell you the worst is Berkshire Hathaway. I would not hire a Berkshire Hathaway agent. I had one and stopped using her because of her contract. It actually lists inside of the contract that if somebody sells a house on a lease option, or if someone sells it subject to, and it uses all of our language, they still get paid a commission up to 6 months after the listing expires.
That's the part that's
go
crazy.
read it. Go read it. It's there.
6 months after the expire, they still want something. Wow. That's like alimony.
Yeah. So, I mean, go read it. I'm not making this stuff up, right?
No,
so that's so when we sign an option agreement, we don't have that. We're going to sign a 90-day option agreement with them originally until we find our buyer. Then we're going to change all the paperwork. But the 90-day option agreement is going to say we have the right to purchase, but not the obligation, for up to 90 days for $380,000 in this case, for a $400,000 house. If the seller decides they found somebody else, or the realtor found a buyer, or for some reason they found another deal, all they need to do is send us something in writing, and we just shut off the marketing that we're not paying for anyways. Right?
Yeah.
So another benefit that we have is we have a buyer's list, right? So I had no clue why realtors don't collect buyers' names and IDs when they do open house. I mean, they try to do it with open houses and stuff, but there's no software that I know of, unless something's changed in the last couple of years, right? To do this. Now, for our listeners, don't worry. On your first deal, you're not going to have a buyer's list. But as soon as you get that first house on consignment and you start showing it off to the people that are going to pay you, the buyer, you're going to start gathering that information if you have the right software. And by the way, there's a link inside the description that has software that does all this for you. Okay? It's all automatic. We put it on autopilot. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, another valuable point is that we are going to either, like I said to you, we're either going to sell the house on a discount, because a discount that the seller would normally pay anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They would normally, if they hired a realtor, they're going to pay that 5% no matter what. They're going to pay more than 5%, but they're going to pay that 5% because, there's other closing costs, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to sell it for 5%. So they're going to pay that no matter what anyways.
Yep.
But the difference is, instead of us pocketing that 5% to pay seller agents and buyer agents and brokers, and because there's too many hands in the pie, so the number's too high.
Yeah.
Right? What we're going to do is we're going to just take our $5,000, which is really, if you think about it, it's 1.25% of the deal.
Not 2.5.
But because the broker and the agent split the 2.5%.
I thought you said they get 1.25. Sure.
So I'm saying it's our $5,000 is really 1.25% of the deal.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as we're making 1.25%, we're on par with the realtor, right?
Yeah.
So the benefit to the seller is we're going to sell it as a discount, right? Because the seller's still paying, they're still getting the $380 no matter what, So we're going to sell it at a discount, and we're going to get a frenzy of buyers because it's on a discount. So that's a benefit to the seller because we're not going to glom all the money. We're going to give it to the buyer and let the buyer feel like they're getting a deal, and it'll be a quicker transaction.
Sure. Get in and get out.
Or if they're willing to give us 3 years, we're going to sell the ability to buy with no bank qualifying and rent for 3 years, or pay a lease for 3 years. It's not really renting, but they pay a lease for 3 years, and we're going to help them get bank qualified so they can get the money to pay off the seller and own the house for the next 30 years. So those are the benefits we have over the realtor, right? Now, one of my final points for today, before we bug out, because we're going to be longer. We're going to run another 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes. Well, today's a little bit longer because I want to make this point, right? So now for my last point for today, one of the final points is, and most critical part of this podcast, because you don't have to negotiate deals, there is no more negotiating. You don't need to know deal structuring. Create real estate deal structuring. I mean, after all, realtors don't do that, right?
No. The game changer, again, with you and I talking the last few weeks about this, real recent, is that, we'll think of it this way. Who's killing the deals? When we talk to sellers, they go, I want 400,000. We're killing the deals by saying, I can't do that. It's too much. Or I can't do that because. What if we just said, okay, I'll do it.
Right.
And you put it on the market. If it comes back like people won't pay any more than whatever, then you go back and say, hey, that's what the realtor does. They never say, no, I can't sell it. They just go for it. And then they adjust as they go. That, to me, was the game changer of just say yes. Yep. You can always ask, like, what's your best price? You can ask whatever you want. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yes. Just say yes.
So you're going to give the seller what they need and want.
Yeah.
Right? And you will easily get inventory to present to your buyers on consignment. Right? So let's say you did 2 of these deals per week. Right? Whether it's an option deal and you're going to just sell for all cash, or it's a slot deal and you're going to sell for terms. But you get 2 a week. That would mean you would have 8 after 4 weeks or 30 days.
Yeah.
Now, do you think one of those 8 deals will pop and get sold so you can get $5,000 or $10,000 chunk of dough or more? How hard is it? Right? Again, this is what the realtor does. They write books on writing listing agreements and putting them on the MLS, and then that's your pipeline, filling your right.
Yeah.
Now wait a minute.
What?
If you got into your second month and added 8 more, you have 16. If you haven't sold one the month before, which is likely you will. So now you have 16 houses in your inventory, which means you just doubled your chances to get a $5,000, $10,000 or more chunk of dough in the next couple months, right? Okay, now do our third month. And you get 8 more houses, which means in 90 days you have 24 houses, presuming you haven't sold any, which is not going to happen, right? And your inventory to present to buyers to crack open their wallets and pay you your profits. So I don't know, unless you are not doing what I tell you today, I don't know anyone that could not make money with 24 houses on the market on consignment for very little money or no money at all. Now it just becomes a numbers game, right? You just keep it simple. Like I explained today, you don't do any other kind of deals. Now, are you going to become a multimillionaire like this? Maybe, maybe not. You could ramp it up just like this is going to replace the wholesaling game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because in wholesaling, they're always trying to teach you how to make $5,000. This is going to replace the whole wholesaling concept. If you do what I'm talking about today.
Yeah.
Getting houses on consignment, presenting them to buyers, and getting paid. Right?
Hey, to answer your question, are you going to become a millionaire? Aren't some of these houses going to turn into something else? Like,
I was just going to say that.
Right.
So what's going to happen is by pure outflow, you're going to run into subject to deals. You're going to run into seller finance deals. You're going to run into other deals just by the nature of the business. And the way to become a millionaire in real estate is money now, money monthly, money later. Yeah. So all this is meant to do is to get you some chunks of dough and get you going in the business and keep cash flow in your business. And then if you pluck out one deal a month or one deal every other month that's subject to and you keep it, or seller financing and you keep it, or a discount so low that you get a private lender to hold a note for 5 years for you. Right? I mean, I have a house that I'm refinancing right now. I think I've had it for 6 years. I did math on it the other day in a seminar for a webinar that I'm doing. And I think that house, I've had it for 6 years, and I think I've made, I don't know, almost $250,000 with it. And I still own it.
Yeah, you did, Bill. You didn't sell it.
Right.
But keeping it is making you the money.
All right. So it becomes a numbers game then, right? But let's talk to those people before we go that don't think that they could do 2 deals a month. Let's talk to those people that feel like in their head they're not qualified. They think, oh, I don't want to be a salesperson, which you're not going to be that, because you're just going to say to the person, I'll give you what you're asking. There is no negotiating. There is no sales. There is no anything other than give me your house on a consignment. Let me bring it to the market, and I'll give you anything you want. Just tell me what you want, as long as it's within certain parameters, right? But let's just say that you have that inferior complex in your head, and you are beating yourself up saying, I'm not talented enough to do that, or I'm not good enough, or I don't have the software, or there's something Bill's not telling me that I'm going to get stuck on, or whatever that thing is in your head, right? Let's say you were to get 2 houses per month instead of per week.
Okay.
That's still 6 houses over the 90 days. Right? Do you think you could find one buyer with an inventory of 6 houses to give you $5,000 or $10,000 profit? I don't understand why not. And I have to tell you that if you do the math on 5%, right? Because here's the thing, I'm saying $5,000 or $10,000. That's actually low in today's economy, because I'm telling you that if you just do an option agreement with, they want all cash. If you do a slot deal, you're going to get 5% over the 400,000, so you're going to sell for 420 or 419.9. That's 20 grand.
Yeah, it's true on the slot. Yeah,
that's 20 grand.
Yeah.
Now maybe you get 10 grand up front, and then you get down payment assistance. You get a check for $400 for a month for the next 3 years, and you don't even own the house. Right.
And that's the down payment that the buyer's doing. And if he buys it, or when he buys, that's his down payment. So he's got to put 5% down.
Right.
He's got to come up with maybe 10% at some point. The more he puts down, the more he gets in front, the less his mortgage will be. So it helps him. It's not like it's money out the window. He goes to the bank. That's his deposit. Yeah, I already paid it. Now all he needs is the mortgage. It's already paid. He did it.
Right. Doesn't
Maybe
matter that
pay
it was
some
3
more.
years earlier. You're just going to have the evidence that he paid it, and that's all you need.
Yeah, it's not money
The
out the
bank,
window. That's his
the
down
bank,
payment.
the bank doesn't ask for a down payment when they move in, and then a down payment 3 years later. They don't ask for that. They want one down payment, not two.
Yeah, they're willing to only pay 95%, whatever that is, in the
Right.
mortgage. They don't want to do
Overall.
100%. They don't want to be leveraged up to the max. They want a little breathing room. So they're gonna give 90-95%. You pay the rest. They're happy. That's all they want.
Now, wait a minute, Peter. Wait a minute. There's
Yes.
one last thing. I know we're way over. I know this podcast is long. We're talking about 5%, right? Well, this is just pure math.
Huh.
What about the dudes and dudettes that are out on the West Coast and the houses are averaging $800,000, like in California, right? Certain parts of our spectrum, like down in Fairfield County, a cheap house is $800,000 or $1 million.
Yeah, Southern Connecticut, near New York City, sure.
5% on an $800,000 house is 40 grand. So now instead of selling, 40 grand on an $800,000 house means you're going to get an option for a cash deal for $760. It's very possible to sell that house for $775 and be $25,000 below market value. Now you're making 15 grand on one deal.
Yeah.
You're better off to be in these higher markets. Oh yeah, by the way, people that own those houses are usually more savvier with money than the people that own $150,000 houses.
Yeah,
it's easier to talk to. They're easier to talk to.
They'll compare it to this way or that way, and our way is a good way.
Yeah. So if you're doing $40,000 deals, just two of those replaces most salaries for our listeners per year.
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me if you didn't do this, you couldn't figure out in a neighborhood with $800,000 houses how to find two of them for an entire year and do this and make 80 grand? Come on. If that's really happening to you, it's something wrong with you. Point blank. Just get out of the business. It's not for you. You have a personality disorder or an interruption in your head, or you have a conversation that is just not true. Your fixed ideas are incorrect. I mean, I could go on and on invalidating you. I mean, why not have me invalidate you? Because you yourself are invalidating the hell out of you. So why not hear it from me? Maybe I'll rattle you and say, that's not true, Bill. Well, then why are you telling yourself that? Right? Okay, we got to go. I will admit, you can do all this stuff we speaketh today manually. You can do all this stuff I speaketh of today manually. But it cuts down on your organization skills and your production. So I put a link in the chat to show you how to automate 90% of doing these deals. 90% of our selling machine does more than 90%. It almost sells the house for you. Like you're barely pushing a couple buttons to get deals. You're putting an ad up. You spend 10 or 15 minutes putting an ad up on 2 or 3 different websites, and that's it. We do the rest for you. It's incredible. We even do the documents for you. Okay? So you should go check it out. All the buying and selling. We could automate 90% of this. All the buying and selling to get your chunks of dough easier and faster. So just go. There's no sales pitch or nothing. Just go check it out. What I did is I broke it all down. There's no long webinar, education, all that. I just broke it down in a video that explains how it works, and it's either for you or it's not. Okay? So thank you for listening to us today. I'm sorry I went 14 minutes past the hour. I appreciate your support. Make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you like us and leave a comment. If you need personal help, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com or creativereireply.com. Top right-hand side is a support link. And if you wanted to get into our little mastermind group, you can go to WhatsApp Messenger and look for Let's Talk Real Estate. If you can't find it, just put in a support ticket and I'll send you a link. With that said, we're over now. Again, thank you. And we will talk to you on episode number 424. Have a good week. Flourish and prosper.